The reason why I chose the topic of introversion versus extroversion in the workplace is there are misconceptions about the personality of each. There are stereotypes of what it means to be introverted and extroverted. This speech will aim to inform the true meaning of each and promote understanding between the two types. The dictionary definition of introversion is a reserved person, a shy person who tends not to socialize much, somebody focusing on their own self, somebody whose feelings and thoughts are directed inward. As a verb, it means to turn inward, to direct or turn something inward or on itself. In psychology, it means to think only about the self, to direct the mind inward and examine or dwell on personal thoughts, feelings, and motives. Extrovert means an outgoing person, someone who's sociable and self-confident, somebody with interest outside of the self, somebody whose interests are focused outside the self. Right off the bat, we have a skewed opinion of what it means to be introverted and extroverted. According to Carl Jung, who first coined the term introverted and extroverted, these are preferences to how we relate with the world, how we are stimulated, where our energy originates. To say the introverted person is shy and does not socialize much indicates a negative description. The introvert is not a recluse, nor is the introvert socially awkward. Introversion means internal, deriving energy from inside the self. In opposite form, extroversion means deriving energy from outside the self. People try to paint introverts and extroverts as mute and manic. The truth of the matter is introversion and extroversion are not descriptions of psychological duress. There are extroverts who suffer from anxiety and introverts who suffer from episodes of hysteria. There are different degrees of introversion and extroversion. Not all people are alike. Carl Jung also encouraged people to experiment with the other type. Although there's no precise dividing line, there are plenty of introverts around. It's just that perceptual biases lead us all to overestimate the number of extroverts among us. Often confused with shyness, introversion does not imply social reticence or discomfort. Rather than being averse to social engagement, introverts become overwhelmed by too much of it. Scientists now know that while introverts have no special advantage in intelligence, they do seem to process more information than others in any given situation. To digest it, they do best in quiet environments, interacting one-on-one. And that was taken from Psychology Today. Notice there is no fear of social interaction. There's a preference for one-on-one interaction. Introverts can receive the short end of the stick, as if there's something wrong with wanting to be alone. It reminds me of a quote from 1984. In principle, a party member had no spare time and was never alone except in bed. It was assumed that when he was not working, eating, or sleeping, he would be taking part in some sort of communal recreation. To do anything that suggested a taste for solitude, even to go for a walk by yourself, was always slightly dangerous. There was a word for it in Newspeak. Own life it was called, meaning individualism and eccentricity. How can we identify an introvert and an extrovert? Introverts prefer to think before they speak. Extroverts prefer to verbally express themselves as they go along. Extroverts thrive on feedback. Words of affirmation are welcomed and appreciated. Introverts are suspicious of overt strokes. Why do you have to say something if it's true? Introverts are more quiet. Extroverts are more talkative. The strengths of extroverts in the world are that they can express themselves and communicate effectively to larger numbers of people. They excel in sales. The strengths of introverts in the workplace are that they can listen and give attention to individuals. They're able to take a step back and evaluate situations. Research has been shown that introverts have more activity in the parts of the brain linked to planning, remembering, and problem solving. And that was taken from a magazine called Health. In conclusion, there are distinct differences between introversion and extroversion. Do you know your preference?